Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to BT's Ballers with your host, Brad Thompson. Today we're talking little NFL draft. Merry Draftmas to everybody out there. I am joined today by Toledo Aviator writer Craig Prater, who is a huge NFL draft fan, and people up here in Michigan. Yes, he is an Ohio State alumnus, but I think we're going to like the fact that he is because he knows I'm looking. We're doing 2 rounds today, and I'm looking at a lot of Ohio State guys. So you would definitely have knowledge on this as well as knowledge on the other guys. So, Craig, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I am a huge Buckeye fan and alumnus. However, my wife and both of my sons attended the University of Michigan, and I am the only Ohio State alumnus that I think had a 6 year streak from 2023, or actually 2024, back to 2018, that I was at every home game in the big house. And so I am a little bit Ohio State biased, but I like some of the things that I see coming out of Ann Arbor also.
Fair enough, fair enough. So yes, Craig definitely lives in a house divided. I don't know how the hell he does it, but he seems to still be in one piece after every Michigan Ohio State game. Then again, but too soon probably. So
The I got to be honest, the '90s were a lot tougher than the current one game slide to Michigan.
indeed, especially when you win a natty.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just get right at it. We're going to go down through all 32 teams in the first round, second round. There have been, we will get through all the teams. There were some trades by some teams where they will not be in the same slot. So let's just start right off the bat. And since you're the guest on the show, Craig, I'll let you go first. Tennessee Titans on the board.
I have not seen a single team that doesn't have Cam Ward to them. I mean, you could maybe try to get a little bit more value and trade back, but I don't think anybody's going to give a king's ransom to come up for Cam Ward. He's got a cannon for an arm. I think that it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. You got Cam Ward there at number one.
Yeah, I would go ahead with the Titans too. I'm going to take Cam Ward. Like you said, he does have a cannon. I think this is not obviously a great draft for quarterbacks, unlike last year. Uh, but I think Tennessee is in a position where they have to take a quarterback. I think Cam Ward could be that franchise quarterback, but he's got to show me a few things. He's got the lateral, he's got the running ability. I would like him to be able to not just have a first and second read. He's got to see the field a little bit better, and he's also got to stop being so impetuous with the football. He's trying to squeeze things in when he doesn't have to. So we shall see there. But I think, like you said, consensus is Cam Ward.
But
Um,
you know, when you say that he tries to squeeze things in, look at the history of the NFL, and there's a long storied history of gunslingers that maybe didn't always make the right decision, but every once in a while were able to pull some greatness out of nothing. And so I'm not completely dissuaded by the fact that he's a gunslinger. Tennessee, they need help all over the place. And so you can't go wrong starting with a quarterback. But like I said, if someone's willing to come up, you need so much in Tennessee. I would try to get out of there, but I don't think they're going to do it. And I think Cam Ward's your guy.
yeah, I agree. So moving on, I'll go first here. Moving on to the Browns. The Browns. I mean, how can you not? They will entertain Travis Hunter here. I definitely think that, but I can't see. I mean, in my opinion, Abdul Carter is the best player in the draft. I can't see them giving up or passing on him. And when you've got Abdul Carter and you've got Miles Garrett coming at you from the edges, I mean, these quarterbacks are going to be they're going to be in trouble. And I also think Cleveland, if Abdul Carter can set the edge and contain, like I think he will, I think he's plug and play immediately and will have immediate impact. Lamar Jackson is not exactly going to have a field day on Cleveland anymore. Let's keep in mind too, Cleveland's defense was not that bad. It was always at the quarterback position, And right now, they simply cannot address that. They're going to hope that the massage man, Deshaun Watson, can come back. I don't think he will, but they've got some options there. But I think they're gonna go defense this year and probably take a few lumps, and then look for their quarterback next year. So over
I
to
get,
you.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. That I like Travis Hunter. However, how many guys in the NFL are playing both ways, playing most of the game? That just doesn't happen. And that there have been guys that have played both way in college. Most notably, the last one that I really remember, Chris Gamble. Going back to a former Buckeye, that he never left the field
Mm.
in 2008, 2009, special teams, offense, defense, and he turned out to be a really nice defensive back for the Carolina Panthers. But same thing with Travis Hunter. I don't see him. I think he might play special teams and defense. I don't see him affecting the offense a lot, especially in a place like Cleveland, where if I were Cleveland, I would do this every year. You know, when you play outside on Lake Erie, you've got to have that running game. And so I don't think you want to take a running back right now. Um, Stack up your defense. Like you said, Miles Garrett and Carter. Holy mackerel, that could be something terrifying. And both Carter and Garrett both really do a nice job on the run game. That they're not just pure pass rushers. And so I agree 100% with you with Abdul Carter. And this might be a little too early for this. I wouldn't be shocked if they went with Mason Graham either. That Mason Graham is an elite athlete at let's see at 300 pounds, can get that interior rush going, and would really complement Miles Garrett. And so I have no problem with Abdul Carter. I have no problem there. There wouldn't be a problem if they took Travis Hunter. But me personally, I would take Mason Graham there. That he's a former wrestler. That in me personally, I just love those defensive and offensive linemen that have an extensive wrestling background. I think back to the early '90s where Ohio State had a defensive line. Both All Americans, Luke Fickle and the head coach of the New England Patriots were both high school All American wrestlers and wreaked havoc for 3 years at Ohio State. Fickle and Vrabel, and so I wouldn't be opposed to Mason Graham, but Abdul Carter's a great pick.
Yeah, and then Carter's going to be he's probably going to be there for 10 years. When Garrett's ready to retire or his
Yeah,
contract's up, then he plugs right over there. So they're going to be okay at the defensive end position for the next 10 years.
I
Um,
agree
you
with you
know,
on that.
so up to the New York Football Giants. I'll let you go first.
With the Giants, um, it really does depend on what Cleveland does. If they pass on Travis Hunter, I think the New York Football Giants will pick up Travis Hunter. If the Browns take Hunter, then you do what most people expect them to do. I think the consensus on the Giants is Abdul Carter, and once again, this guy can be either Hunter or Carter could be a 10-year player, high motor, both of them, high ceilings that I don't think you can lose either one of them. And so if we had uh, Carter going to the Browns, I most definitely would take Travis Hunter. I think he's going to be a great special teams player. I think he's going to be a great defensive cornerback. I just don't think the offense is going to be there for him in the NFL.
Okay, yeah, that's good stuff right there. I as well am going to take Travis Hunter. I do think they entertain the thought of Shadur Sanders here for some reason, but I think they say that they back off on that. I think they're not going to go safe here. Or maybe they will go safer. I guess you consider Travis Hunter at this point a safe pick. So they'll go here with Travis Hunter. Um, you see, now I think Hunter's going to play more both than most people might think. I think he's going to play both the slot, and then I think on defense he's going to cover the slot by playing the nickel or the dime. He's definitely not going to play 90% of the snaps like he did at Carolina, but he's got the Swiss Army knife ability where he can be an offensive weapon, and then if cornerbacks, defensive backs start going down for the Giants, you've got that there. So maybe play 15, 20 snaps most, at corner, and then I think with along with Malik Neighbors, and you've got Russell Wilson back there, you've got a pretty damn good combo, or trio there. They find a running back in the second or third, and all of a sudden that offense looks pretty formidable. Uh, it's just the defense that's going to need a lot of help. So,
No disagreement there.
okay. All right. So we are up to the New England Patriots at 4. I'm going to take this one first. And this one I've seen, this one is pretty much a consensus, at least from my spot, is it's going to be Will Campbell, the offensive tackle for LSU. I think Drake May is starting. I think he's 90% there. That's not even, yeah, 90% there for proving everybody that he is that franchise quarterback. I personally think that he is, but he was running for his life last year. And if you got a franchise quarterback, the first thing you got to do is protect him. And I think Will Campbell, there's a lot of good tackles in here. There's a lot of really good tackles, but I think he is I think he's a notch above everybody. So I'll go with that there.
I don't disagree with you. Maybe going offensive line, but once again, I'm going to say if I'm the Patriots, I'm trying to get out of that spot. There are 3 or 4 really well regarded tackles in this draft. Um, and so I think any one of them would be fine. And I hate to say arm length, but Will Campbell's got those sub 33-inch arms, and so that's one of the standards that the NFL has had, and it's shown that if your arms are shorter than 33 inches in length at tackle, that you can have some problems. And so if I'm New England, I would try to see trade down, or maybe go with a Membo, or maybe a Banks. If you're stuck going at 4, if you can trade down a little bit, then that's opening up, maybe a Josh Simmons, or someone else like that. Josh Simmons at the beginning of the college year was widely regarded to be the number 1 tackle in the draft. He got hurt fairly early in the season, and so I don't mind an offensive tackle take by New England, uh, but I try to trade down. If you can't trade down, maybe take one of the other tackles. I think that Campbell's got is a high risk, high reward, and I don't think you want to take somebody that doesn't have a can't miss potential at number 4. So once again, that's just me.
No, no, fair enough. There's some, like I said, there's some great tackles, on this board, and I don't, we could probably get to it. If I'll make my pick, but I don't really see a, I don't see many franchise players in this first round. I
No, I
could
don't
be
either.
wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of trading up. I think you're going to see from rounds 2 to rounds 4 is really going to be where the meat of the draft is in this year.
I
I
agree.
think it's a
I
deep,
agree
yeah.
one. I agree 100% with you. The second and third round, I love. First round, I think you still going along with what you're going with. Mason Graham still out there, and Ashton Genty in the silver and black could just that could be a serious problem for the league. So they're, also got a couple of really good tight ends. But do you really want to take a tight end this early? Probably not.
No, no, I agree. So, All right, so up next is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I will turn it to you.
The consensus here is Mason Graham. I said I think that there's a chance he could go earlier, but if he's still available with uh, with Jacksonville, I think it's a no brainer. He's got size, he's got athleticism, he's got speed, he's got that wrestling background. He can give that interior pass rush that is just a killer for most of the league. That, if someone's coming from the outside on the edge, the quarterbacks can step up into the pocket, but an interior pass rush, there's nowhere for him to go. And so I absolutely go with the maize and blue here in Mason Graham, and I'm thrilled if I'm Jacksonville.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, we were talking about this on our other pod, Michigan Sports Media Network here. We were talking that I have not, and they have not seen a mock that has not had Mason Graham going to the Jaguars, and that's a rarity. So I would agree. I think he's got a mean streak in him. Everything you said, so I don't really have to belabor the point, but yeah, I think Jags are going to be very happy with that. Um, I know they would probably entertain the thought of Ashton Genty, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to go defense,
Well,
and
Etienne's
yeah,
not. I'm sorry, Etienne's
yeah,
not a bad running back. I don't think
mm,
Genty would be. Genty would definitely be an upgrade, but it's not something massive. And so I think they're in much better shape running back than they are on their defensive line, and that's one of the reasons I would go there.
yeah,
But
yeah. I would agree.
there is a chance because, as I'm sure we're going to talk in a minute, that Ashton Genty is predicted to go to the Raiders. So I do
Mhm.
think that there's a chance there might be a team out there that falls in love with Genty and wants to move up in front of the Raiders. That watching Genty in college, that's as close to Barry Sanders as I've seen in college in a long time. Just that style, the toughness, and so I'd go I'd go Mason Graham, but there might be a market to move out of that spot.
Yeah, I think there's going to be, and I fucking hate the team that I think we're both talking about. So we can get to them in a second. Uh, so on to the Raiders. I'll start and speak of the devil. I do see the Raiders taking Genty. He's just that complete back with Brock Bowers and Geno Smith there. I think Pete Carroll finally gets his kind of Marshawn Lynch because I think Genty is kind of he's a bruiser. He's a complete back, but I think his one kryptonite is he's got to hold on to the football.
Yeah,
He does have a tendency to fumble. Nine fumbles, in the time he is as a starter. That's unacceptable, and it's only going to get tougher in the NFL.
I agree with you on that. The only thing that, not to defend nine fumbles, but you got to remember that he carried the ball a ton. He probably had twice as many carries as the average running back in last year's class. And so, like I said, nine's way too many, but he had a ton of runs. And so, um, boy, I love myself some Ashton Genty. I think he could be the next Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah, he could be, and I'm just glad he's in the AFC. And I
Yeah.
do hope that a certain team in our own division with the Lions, is not going to trade up because that would be a scary thought.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh, I don't.
so
I do not want him in Chicago. No,
nobody,
thank you. No, thank you.
nobody in the Hallelujah Blue and Silver want that either. So
No.
let's go on to the New York Jets. I'll turn it over to you. What you got?
All right. Well, Aaron Glenn gets a shot, and coming from the Dan Campbell tree, I think Glenn saw a lot of what uh, MCDC did very well, and so what the Lions do as well as anybody else, they value their offensive line. And so they got rid of the cancer that was Rodgers. And if there was a franchise quarterback here, I think they'd go quarterback, but there's just not. And so I would take Membo, the offensive tackle out of Missouri, uh, prototypical size, good athlete for someone that's 330 pounds. And so uh, I think the Jets go offensive line simply because that's where you start your rebuild.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree there. I do want to go back to what you're saying about a franchise quarterback. I just don't think this guy Justin Fields has ever had a fair shake in this. He never had a run in
No, I
Chicago.
I think Justin Fields has the potential to be a breakout. That hopefully he's learned coming out of Ohio State. He always had like a run first mentality, and you just can't do that in the NFL. But he's got an absolute cannon for an arm, and so I think Justin Fields got potential to be a good quarterback there. So once again, let's get him an offensive tackle. Let's get an offensive line, and give him a chance.
If you're watching this, it's because you love sports. If you love sports, why not show that love with some new gear, like the two jerseys behind me? Fanatics has a lot of stuff on sale right now, and if you go down in the description, click the link of whatever team that you want, it'll take you to the Fanatics page, buy some stuff, and we get a small portion. It'll help us out, and you'll get some discounts on some good gear.
Yeah, yeah. I just, like I said, I like the guy. I just don't think he's ever got a fair shot in the NFL. So we'll
I
see.
don't think they have
Um,
either.
Yeah, I'm going to go with what with you here, Mon Membo. Aaron Glenn is going to want to run the football,
Yes, he
and
is.
the Jets were just simply not able to run the football last year.
Yeah.
Membo is he's come is a gritty guy. He's mean. He's just a flat out mean dude. All right, and he's got the quickness. He's got the reach. He'll punch you off the line, and I think and that's the thing is he's going to give Fields some time because Justin Fields never had any time to throw in Chicago or in Pittsburgh, and now he's finally got a legitimate left tackle. So that's
Yeah,
who I'm going to go with as well.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the Carolina Panthers. Uh, I'll let you go first.
All right. So there are just some universities with positions that just keep hitting. Um, Ohio State wide receivers, they hit 90% of the time. Um, and just look at Georgia. And Georgia defenders, you just ask the Philadelphia Eagles, you can't get enough Georgia Bulldogs on your football team. Uh, and so in this situation, although he doesn't have the ideal size, I'd go with Jalen Walker. That the edge from Georgia. He's on the smaller side. He's only 6'1", 243, but this dude is just an athlete. He goes sideline to sideline, and so I really like I said, you go with the pedigree there. He's got lots of production coming from Georgia, so you know that he's well taught. He's got just about everything that you need, just not the prototypical size. But there's not a lot of franchise players left, and so I'd go with Jalen Walker, edge out of Georgia.
Mhm. Now, let me say this, folks out there watching us. We did not pre rehearse this whatsoever. Okay, just so you know. Uh, but this is the first team coming up here where I think they could have been a little bit. They could have gone in a lot of directions. I think they definitely could have gone wide receiver there to help Bryce Young out. I definitely thought they could go offensive line there to help Bryce Young out. But I can't disagree with you with Jalen Walker here. I got him plugged in there as well. I he is going to be he's an athlete. He's a gosh darn good athlete, and what he can get to. he can get to the quarterback, but I also think with Carolina, with the system they run, he can also drop back in the flats, and they can do a lot of twists with him. So I'm with you on Walker, no doubt about that. So,
You
all
know,
right, we are up to
you know,
another.
you could
Go ahead.
you could go back to that old Dick LeBeau defense, like you said, drop them back in coverage, try to mix things up, and so I just love Georgia defenders, and so under these circumstances, that's who I take.
Yeah, yeah, good call there. Okay, so this might be the first one that we disagree on. Maybe not. I don't know, but we got another NFC South team here in the New Orleans Saints. So with the Saints need anything and everything. They're in salary cap hell. New coach in Kellen Moore here. Uh, he does have Brendan Staley as his defensive coordinator. I think Staley's pretty darn good. He ain't no head coach, but he's a pretty damn good coordinator. And I think he's going to get him the second best corner in the draft. I think they're going to go Jahdae Barron here from University of Texas. Played in the SEC, went up against some damn good corners in practice. He can play a press man. He can also play zone. So he has got some flexibility in that backfield. So I am going to go with him at the ninth pick.
You can't really go wrong there. And defensive back, cornerback is a um, position of need. Um, if I were them, I would look at who I think could be an instant impact because you're right. They need everything everywhere. They're in cap hell. And so I'm going to look to take someone on the offense that can affect both the passing and the rushing. Once again, it breaks my heart to say really nice things about this guy. But Colston Loveland, uh, last year, I think that BT, you could have been a better quarterback at University of Michigan. Uh, it probably would have been, but back his junior year, where they had an acceptable quarterback, Colston Loveland was just one heck of a tight end. He can catch the ball. He's a good blocker. That he's an all around very good player. And so you're right. I'm going to disagree with you, and I would have taken Colston Loveland if I were if I were the Saints.
Yeah, I could see. Like I said, they need so much help everywhere.
Oh,
So I mean,
everywhere.
just put. I mean, they could put a name in. They could put positions in a hat. Honestly, pick one out, and boom, you're gonna need it. So I mean, the Saints, quite honestly, could be picking number one next year.
Yeah,
They
they
just could.
probably will be, and
Yeah.
so maybe they're playing the long game, and what are they going to do? Lose for Manning, and see what they can come up with. So uh, we'll see.
They definitely could. I mean, could you see a storybook kind of thing? Because I think they may very well. In fact, I'm going to go on record saying they will be picking number one next year.
Yeah,
And they
that
go and get,
that team's in bad shape.
and all of a sudden, Archie Manny's grandson is playing where he played. So
They
that could,
Saints fans would love to have a Manning at quarterback.
yeah,
Uh, yeah.
yep. So, alrighty. So we are on to the fuck the Bears pick. So, with that, I will let you go first.
This is where I was kind of torn with the Bears. I think this would be a great spot for Jack Sawyer, and I think the tradition of the Bears GMs that they could think about it since he's like the 96 rated player in the draft, and the Bears suck. And so, um, but I think once again a really good tight end is can affect the offense in so many ways that you've got a young quarterback, you want to give him weapons, uh, that it's there are some really high quality running backs even behind Gentry or Genty. And so what I'm thinking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Tyler Warren out of Penn State. Once again, And he's bigger than Colston. I think he's a little bit better blocker. 6'6", 256, decent speed, great hands, can block, can catch, will be a nice little safety valve on the offense. And so if I'm the Bears, I go tight end, and then I look at that the running backs in the second round. You got the two guys from Ohio State that I think are going to be really good pros. They've got good running backs all over the place, and so I'm gonna try to pump the Bears had a decent defense. I'm going to try to pump up the offense. Tyler Warren in the first round, and then when we get to the second round, I'm going to look at running back.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It is a safety valve. Caleb Williams was running for his life last year. They did upgrade that offensive line. But, I think there, like you said, I think that Ben Johnson gets his Sam Laporta. So,
Yes.
so he's an athlete. I mean, Tyler Warren is definitely an athlete. You can line him up in certain spots. You can even line him up as an H-back. So, you might be impressed with this one, but I think that Ben Johnson is still not happy with his entire offensive line yet. I
Yeah.
think with this pick, they're playing the long game here with this pick. But from everything that I've read lately, the guy's going to be pretty healthy. So
Josh Simmons.
I am gonna send Josh Simmons from Ohio State over to the Bears.
You
So you can
know,
tell me a little about him.
it's not a bad pick. He is massive. 6'5", 320 pounds, great athlete, and he got injured in the fifth game of the year. And in the first four games, he gave up zero pressures. He was was a fabulous offensive tackle. He's a tackle only. There's not a lot of diversifying the positions that he can play, but at the same time, still, it was a serious injury that took him out. All the reports say that it's looking good, but there's a chance that he's not ready for the beginning of the season. And if you're Ben Johnson, do you really want to take that risk and say, okay, this is going to be the first guy? Could pay off handsomely because, like, a lot of the reports had Simmons as a potential top five pick before he got injured. So, just like Brad Holmes is not afraid to take somebody that's injured. That high risk, high reward, and so I can't really say that's a bad pick.
Yeah, I mean, scared money don't make money. And I do believe that if Simmons was healthy all year long, he would be a top three pick. I
He
truly believe that. I could honestly see the Giants taking him.
he
But
was trending that way.
yeah, he was. He's a hell of a football player. He's when healthy, and I believe he will be. He is a cornerstone left tackle for the next 10 to 15, well, 10 to 12 years for the Bears. And quite frankly, that doesn't make us Lions fans feel very good, but I think Ben Johnson is willing to risk it here.
I
So,
think he would be too.
yeah. So we are on to the San Francisco 49ers at pick 11. I'll go first. I think that they're definitely, speaking of offensive tackles, I think you might start seeing a little bit of run on offensive linemen here. So with the Niners, I got them taking Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. Um, I cannot think of his freaking name right now, the 49ers left tackle. Uh, who is that?
You got me, man.
I know. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame too.
Oh shoot,
So
I know who you're talking about. But he's been in the league a long time.
long
And
time.
long time. And
Yeah.
so, the problem with that when you're in the league a super long time is that all of a sudden your salary is oh so high.
Mhm.
So, I could see them doing that and trying to get cheaper and look to the future because um, Trent Williams.
Trent Williams. There we go.
Trent Williams, he's definitely a Hall of Famer, great tackle. But at this time, when you're losing everything you're losing, you know, does San Francisco want to take the bullet and take an offensive lineman like that, and maybe even think about trading Trent Williams to see if there's any value for him to get some additional picks? You hate to take a guy that trade away a guy that's good, but if you know your team is in a hard rebuild, that might not be a bad idea.
Right. He could if someone wants to take a chance at him, I don't think you're going to get any more than if you're lucky, probably get a fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but fifths are good. Don't get me wrong, but he could be a cap casualty. I think with this draft, and I was talking on. I think I talked to you a little bit about it off air, and I talked to my guys, on the other pod. Um, I think you're going to see more moves made by in free agency than usual because I think a lot of GMs are more than usual are going to look at what they got in the draft and then start shopping for other players. There's a Nick Chubb that's still out there. There's an Amari Cooper that's still out there. There's a Zadarius Smith that's still out there. So
I think Zadarius Smith is just waiting, and if the Lions don't take a first round edge, which I don't think they will, I think Zadarius Smith will resign with the Lions. But that's just me.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that because they're in win now mode, and that's a bird in the hand rather than gamble on a rookie defensive end. So I got Kelvin Banks going to the Niners, and what do you got?
Um, uh, to the Niners, um, a couple of different thoughts that you could go defensive line and Walter Nolan, or you could go wide receiver with Matthew Golden. You haven't had a wide receiver taken off the board yet.
Mhm.
And so I'm leaning a little bit towards Matthew Golden that, you know, good value, that he was just a very good receiver for Texas last year. And so depending on if you want to go offense or defense, Walter Nolan or Matthew Golden, I'm just going to say I'll take a wide receiver right there for San Francisco, and I would take Matthew Golden.
Yeah, I think you know what I honestly I didn't really think about that even when I was looking through these entire drafts. But they lost Debo Samuel, they
Mm-hmm.
lost the speed guy, Josh Purdy. You always got to get him weapons. They traded, I mean, they also traded away. I believe I don't remember his name, but with Golden, he is so fast.
Mm-hmm.
That he's going to be able to stretch that field. He's going to be able to run some of those fly, the fly pattern, obviously, and that's a great pick. I didn't even think about it, and that would be a good fit there. I really think it would.
Yeah,
So
like you said, I think he would be one of those guys that can stretch the field, and he's not just a speed guy. He's got good hands. He runs good patterns. He's not the prototypical size for an X receiver, uh, but he's not small either.
mm,
And so, I San Francisco traditionally has been, has lots of speed, lots of offense, and so I'm gonna continue that tradition and go Matthew Golden.
yeah, no, that's that. Like I said, I love it. Uh, so we're gonna go head to the Cowboys next in Jerry's World, not Jerry World. All right, Jerry's World. So he'll be picking. So you never know what's gonna happen, but go ahead.
All right. Well, the Cowboys' running game last year was trash. And as much as I love one of my favorite players, Ezekiel Elliott, you know,
Oh, jeez.
eight, 82 yards through the heart of the South in 2015 on the way to the national
Mm,
championship,
mm.
right through the heart of the Alabama defense in the fourth quarter. Yeah, absolutely. Um, it, Jerry does stupid things every once in a while. Um, I I like Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. That 6 foot 220, that is just one hell of a running back. And so I most people disagree with me on that one. And so I'm not trying to say who I would pick. I'm saying who I think the Cowboys might pick, because you're not going to take a replacement for Dax right now. You paid him a lot of money. There's no quarterback really worthy of anything that high. The Cowboys still have a decent wide receivers, decent tight end. Their running game was hot garbage, and so I think Jerry um, could go running back. So
Okay.
he's just stupid enough to do that.
Yeah, I mean, running back is definite need, and he's probably so myopic where he's not going to look in the second round, even the third round, and find some studs there. But I could see it. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Would I be shocked with Jerry? No, not at all. Um, but I do see. I think that the Cowboys are thin after CD Lamb. I think they kind of go a little thin at a wide receiver. They're probably pissed that possibly Matthew Golden in your scenario would be gone. But this guy is, he might be the consensus number one receiver by a lot of people, and I think he's going to go. And I'm going to butcher this one, but Tatoria McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona State,
I was just looking at that list
Arizona,
also.
Arizona. Sorry, Arizona.
No,
Yeah.
6'4", 220. That's a big dude right there. That he is ranked very high. CBS Sports has him ranked as the fifth best player in this draft, regardless of position. And so I don't think it's ridiculous that he could go here. I just thought that you've got CD already, and you're paying a lot of money to CD, but he would be a nice replacement, um, nice upgrade. And so I don't hate that pick. I don't hate it at all.
Yeah, the reason I went there with that is, I think it'd be a hell of a compliment to CD Lamb. They can't get everything there. I mean, pragmatically, I don't see them going running back. So if you're not going to, they'll get a running back, but Dak needs weapons, because I think Dak. I don't know if we ever talked about it. I think Dak is by far the most overrated quarterback in the last 15 years of the NFL. I just do. So I think they get him another weapon, and I think they go that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, and just to go back to and put a bow on this for the Cowboys is you don't know what the hell they're gonna do. So you just don't know. You just don't know. So we will move on to on the Dolphins. I'll take this one first, and this is the guy that if I was Jerry Jones, I would have taken. But thank God I'm. Well, I wish I was actually his money. But I got the Dolphins. They just lost Armstead. I don't think a tackle is there that high for them to reach. But so I think they still need help on the offensive line, and I think they used, in my opinion, arguably the best interior offensive lineman in the draft. I think they go Ian Booker Jr. out of Alabama.
Wow. Um, not not a bad choice. And once again, you never know what Jerry's going to do.
No, I'm
Um,
talking. No, this is for
oh,
the
for the
Dolphins. Yeah,
for the Dolphins. Oh
yeah,
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 for the Dolphins, you never
yeah.
know what. Oh geez, what's the name of the owner of the Dolphins that has everything named after him at
Stephen
University?
Ross.
Stephen
Stephen
M.
Ross.
Ross. Yes. You never know what he's going to do. He's pretty impetuous. He's not quite Jerry, but he's close. Um, boy, a guard at number 13. I don't mind the pick, because when you look at Booker, he's a heck of a guard, but you're not really getting very good um, value there. And so, you know, I'm thinking maybe do like a Will Johnson or something like that. That Will Johnson's kind of been dropping a little bit at the beginning of the draft process. That he was considered a top 10 prospect. 6'2", 195, good size for a quarterback. He's got good speed. Um, and so I don't hate the Booker pick, but I would go in a different way and try to get some good value. And so I would have gone Will Johnson, but that's just me.
No, fair enough. In fact, I've seen Will Johnson. In fact, even in the coming up later today at 6 o'clock, folks, on the Michigan Sports Media Network, mock, we do. I think you'll see somebody, not me, but somebody taking Will Johnson. I just think the guy's dropped too far. There's some red flags with Johnson, but hey, I've seen it. I've seen it. So definitely. Um, so let's move on to the Colts. Uh, the Colts have had it. I'll have you. Well, you know what? Go ahead with the Colts pick first, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. So, floor is yours.
Um, with the Colts, that I know you already have him picked, but I think McMillan would be a nice selection there. Um, do you want to completely pull the plug on the Richardson um, experiment, or do you want to try to give them some weapons and give them one more year? If they want to give them one more year, I would go with McMillan, the great big wide receiver. Give him a big target that he could throw to, and so. But then again, you could go to, once again, like I said, those Georgia defensive linemen, you can never have enough of those. And Mikel Williams is still there on the board. And so, but if it were me, I would have gone, I'd go McMillan to the Colts. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
and
that
so
makes sense. I mean, yeah, Richardson. I think they're gonna. I think this is his last kick at the can. I think we could both agree with that.
I think
So,
so.
yeah, I'm just gonna go a little different. I am gonna give Richardson a weapon again as a safety valve here, but also then as a hell of an athlete. Now, you took him with the Bears. I'm gonna take Tyler Warren here out of Penn
Yeah.
State.
Yep.
So I've seen him mocked to the Colts a lot. I just think in this, in this realm, who would look great there with Richardson's Cannon would be a Matthew Golden. But I'm gonna play it a little more. Well, it's not playing it close to the vest because this guy's a stud. But I'm gonna go Tyler Warren there.
Yeah. If he's on the board, I think that would be an awesome pick for the Colts. Even though that you and I both know there are, and not all, but there are some really obnoxious Colts fans out there that could deserve a really a bad pick. But they go
Yeah.
hand in hand with the Bengals.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
What's
So,
up,
but
Gus?
we will not put his name out there because he is under 18 years old, but I think we both have him in class. So, anyways.
Yeah,
All
absolutely,
right, so we're on to the Falcons at 15. The Falcons defense, I think, can use an upgrade. I know I was
absolutely.
thinking here, given Penix, he's got Bijan in the backfield there, and he's got a couple of good wideouts. So I'm gonna go with a guy that was just absolutely killed in the combine, and him and his partner on the line there didn't really have a lot of standout stats because I think they both fed off each other. But I'm gonna go Shamar Stewart here for the Falcons, an edge. I think he's really going to take off now when he's put in a system where he is going to be able to have the position all by himself and have a chance to shine.
If you look at guys, defensive linemen that come out of Texas A&M, it's something about that defense that they run that they have really good athletes, and their defense as a whole is not terrible. But dudes in college are not putting up really huge numbers, and then they go to the pro and they actually put up better numbers in the pros than they do uh, at Texas A&M. I mean, I think Miles Garrett has better numbers than he did at
Oh yeah.
Texas A&M, and so I think Shamar Stewart would be a great pick. He's somebody that I would love to see go to the Lions. That he's got that great big size at 6'5", 267. He also has long arms. He could be that crush the can guy. Hold uh, good on run, and I would love to see him opposite that Michigan dude. I don't know, and so. That I think that's a great pick right there.
Okay. So you're gonna go with him then too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So we are up to the Cardinals. Again, Cardinals, a lot of needs here, but floor is yours.
Um. And so, uh, if I were the Cardinals, and they they were weak last year on the defensive line, and then they lost one of their better defensive linemen to the Lions. And so um, I would possibly look at, and this is higher than most people have them, maybe like either a Kenneth Grant or, um, oh, shoot, a second here. Um, I maybe a Kenneth Grant. I think that he had lots of production for um, for Michigan. That he's a big guy, 6'4", 331, uh, and so uh, give give them someone stout that that could really help them out on the interior. I think that yeah, I'd go Kenneth Grant, even though that's higher than most people have him.
Yeah, but I have seen Grant mock to the Cardinals, so I mean that I could definitely see that happening. Cardinals signed Josh Sweat from from away from Philly this year, and I think, like you said, with the defensive line, I'd like to give him a bookend here. So I'm going to go Mike Green from Marshall, and I think you know a little something about Mike Green. He kind of did a. I mean, you guys won the game handily, but he kind of did a number on Ohio State this past season. So he is he does have some red flags. But there. I mean, he's pretty darn good, and I think some teams are going to overlook those red flags. But I like him paired with Josh Sweat. Get to the quarterback.
You know, yeah, can't really argue against that. That would be a nice pick, and it always seems like Ohio State struggles sometimes against these the smaller schools that you don't expect anything, and then they'll have one player that just kills Ohio State. I remember in 2016 that uh, Taylor Decker was still tackle for Ohio State, and there was this little known outside linebacker from the University of Buffalo by the name of Khalil Mack that just beat him like a drum. And I could see Mike Green and maybe doing the same thing. I like that call.
Yeah, I do too. So, all right, so we're up to number 17 with the Cincinnati Bengals. So, how you doing out there, Charles Chappelle? Anyways, uh, I mean, you got your two wide receivers. I'm not going to rip on what you paid for. You got your two wide receivers. You got your franchise quarterback, top five quarterback in the league, top three quarterback in the league, in my opinion. So, Bengals, for some reason, always just kind of overlook that offensive line. I don't know why, but I think with the pressure that comes down lately with the defensive line up the middle, that's starting to trend to. I think they go with arguably the best guard in the draft. And I think they take another Ohio State guy in Donovan Jackson.
That would crush me if they took Donovan Jackson because that's who I love going to the Lions. But someone that I think that could seriously help with the pass rush, and you can't really go wrong with Bama guys either. They're kind of um, like Georgia guys, and so I'm going to go with Jihad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. I don't know if he will still be there. There's a lot of teams that really like him, that he's got the potential to be a really good player. And so I would begrudgingly go Jihad Campbell to the Bengals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. See, I took your guy if you want for the Lions, and um, you're taking my guy that I want for the Lions.
Yes.
Um, let me take this. I got my hand gestures thing off there. Okay, I think I think Campbell is. I love him. I love him. He's a hybrid. He is close to Will Anderson. I'm not saying it is Will Anderson. He came to Bama as an edge, and then he went. He was a linebacker. So I think he can do a lot of things. He's a football player, and
Yep.
I think this is the area you're going to see him going. I think you're going to see him go anywhere from the Falcons. I don't think he's going to get past Tampa Bay,
No.
personally, but I do have him going to the Bengals here. And no, I take that back. You have them going to the Bengals here, and well, we both know the way the Bengals take it, they're gonna fuck it up. So that's for you, Charles. So
Yeah,
let's
Paul
move.
Paul Brown is, just like his father was, right? Just
Right?
the football genius.
Yeah. Let's. But you know what? How the hell they make two Super Bowls? And well, then again, we had William Clay Ford. So I mean, that's a tie neck and neck for idiots. So
Hey, what
let's.
this isn't Cleveland here, so be careful what you say.
Oh, right.
A
All right.
little Sam
So,
Weiss love for you.
okay. So we are on to the Seahawks. Interesting ways they could go here. So, go ahead.
Um, so the Seahawks, you're right. There's a lot of different ways that the Seahawks can go. Um, I think they would desperately love to get a long-term solution to a quarterback. And so I don't know if they would actually uh, pull the trigger on quarterback. Um, but maybe go with a dart here. That um, I wouldn't do that, but yeah, I'm gonna go dart and get quarterback number two off the board. Long term solution for the Seahawks at quarterback, and let's go that way.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I got him going a different way in this one, but I already put in, um, I don't think we'll be giving it away, but I already put it in our Michigan Sports Media Network one. Um, See, Sam Darnold, this is it. They're paying 11 or $100 million to Sam Darnold. That looks like a lot of money, but actually it's not. It's only 52 guaranteed. So that's
Yeah.
$25 million a year. So if they go Darnold, I'm not sold on Darnold. I think Kevin O'Connell is a mastermind offensively, and I think he kind of saw the real Sam Darnold kind of show up game against the Lions and the game against the Rams. So I do not trust this guy further than you can throw him. Okay, I
Well,
did not have Jackson Dart going there. I had Shadur Sanders going there, and let's just say that's going to be highly debatable on the next upcoming pod I'm on here later. But I'm not going to take Sanders here. I'm going to be a little more pragmatic. And I am going to take it. I can't believe I'm the one. I was worried about you. I'm the one doing all this shit. I'm going to take Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. So they lost DK Metcalf. Let's get Darnold's going to need some weapons now. He's got a nice a nice running back in Kenneth Walker Jr., but he lost arguably a top five wide receiver. So
well,
pair him
I
with his other Ohio State receiver.
Jackson Smith and Jigba already up there, and so with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Emeka Ibuka, that would be fantastic. And one of the things that most people don't realize about Emeka Ibuka, he's Ohio State's all-time leading receiver. That and you think back to Chris Carter and David Boston and Terry Glenn and all in all of the string of wide receivers recently, he's leaving Ohio State as Ohio State's all-time leading receiver. Nothing but class, nothing but um, consistency out of him, and I didn't want to sound too homerish, but I love that pick. I would probably go in Jigba over Dart, but I remember talking to you last year before the Lions Vikings game, and you're just like Darnold's going to Darnold. You know, it's Darnold's going to Darnold, Franklin's going to Franklin, and there are just some consistencies in the football world, and so I can't really disagree with you there. And so I think a Mecca Book is a really good pick there.
Yeah, I could see him going quarterback though. I definitely could.
Yeah, that
Because
way with Darnold, you don't have to put. All these quarterbacks are getting thrown in and expected to play right away. But if they can sit for a year or two, that really is helpful.
right, and just to speak to that point too, it's only only listen to that only 52 million dollars, and let's say Darnold's a two face. You know what I mean, from the comics. So let's say that they get the bad Sam Darnold, which history has proven they are.
Yeah.
It could be a Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix thing where all of a sudden, yo, Sam, this ain't getting it done. Jackson Dart, even if Shadur Sanders, that is, oh, by the way, Hall of Fame Colorado quarterback, Shadur Sanders, forgot to mention that. They could go, they could go there, but I'm gonna stick a book in there, and I'm gonna run with that one. So let's move on to the Denver Broncos. I didn't know this. I didn't know Denver had the top running game in the NFL. I guess they did from what I was reading and
Yep.
hearing. So, uh, floor is yours on that one.
Um. See, who I had there is someone that you already took off the board, and I love was Shamar Stewart. Um. You could maybe go Jihad Barron out of Texas, cornerback, got good size. And so you know what? I will go with Jihad Barron, uh, cornerback out of Texas, because I said their offense was not bad last year. It was a lot of ground and pound. I have no problem with that. And so let's upgrade the defense. And it is a passing league, and so I'm going to go with Jihad Barron out of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, look at the division they're in. I mean, hell, I mean, you got Mahomes. You got Jesus Christ, I'm forgetting with the San Diego quarterback. Or no, LA Chargers quarterback. What
Oh,
the hell? What the hell is his name? I
Herbert.
can't believe
Herbert
Justin Herbert. Hello, Jesus. Yeah. So,
got Will Howard in the silver and black.
yep. Oh, yeah. Okay. They got Geno Smith. So I think him paired along with Patrick Surtain. Wow. Oh, wow. I mean, Surtain, defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you went there with that, definitely can't go wrong. I'm gonna just go get Bo Nix some more weapons. They have the best ground attack. I'm gonna get him a weapon, and I'm gonna go Luther Burden the third out of Missouri.
Do you know what? That's a name that I've actually heard a lot of people pair up with the Lions, and so uh, yeah, just speed, more speed. Last year there was a drop off in production in Missouri, but he was Missouri's offense, and so they weren't really getting him out in the pattern very much. That he was much more of a uh, out of the backfield
Yeah.
reverses a lot of, and so I think that's a fantastic pick, and boy, can't really go all too wrong with that. So, good selection.
Yeah, he got bracketed a lot. They had a safety over the top of him because they could. So, but I think he would have done well there. And in those he didn't get much of a chance because of the way defenses were lining up. But like you said, he got a lot of he got a lot of reverses. He got a lot of screens. He got a lot of bubble screens. So, I think he has the potential just to blow absolutely up his rookie year. So.
Yep.
All right, so gonna go on to the Bucks at 19. So they could go some ways, and I mean that is a luxury. They could go some ways, and you had him going to the Cardinals, and I could definitely see that. But I said, like we said, he's not getting past the Bucks, so I already talked about him, so we can make this one quick. I'm going Jahad Campbell to the Bucks.
He, he fits right in the that he's just a good defensive player, and so Tampa Bay traditionally has a solid defense, and so I think that's a good pick. I mean, you got Baker Mayfield in there, and I think Baker Mayfield fits in really nicely uh, with that offense, um, and so um, I, I I like the pick. Um, that what I would probably do if I were the Bucks, um, their nose tackle. Oh shoot! Something long in Polynesian.
Vita Vea.
Vita Vea. Vita Vea is not a young man for someone that size and has been taking a pounding for a long time. And this is another guy that I would love to see selected by the Lions, but Michigan State via Oregon defensive lineman Derek Harmon
Mm.
that I think would be a good selection because, like I said, that defense Vita Vea is he is that defense that everything is structured around him just eating up men, eating up offensive linemen, and freeing everybody up. He's not young. Um, is Derek Harmon as big as he is? No, but he's a load, and I'm going to go with Derek Harmon, defensive lineman out of Oregon via Michigan State.
Yeah, that's a great pick, and he is rising up boards pretty damn quick. So he is the hot flavor this week. So
Yes, he
I
is.
uh I could see that happening. There's no doubt about it.
That
Um,
at Michigan State, he disappeared in a lot of games. He dropped about 20 pounds, went from like 340 down to about 320. Changed his body shape a little bit, and so I could definitely see that. I think that would be a really nice selection for Tampa Bay.
right. Plus, well, Michigan State's been a train wreck. So let's move on here. Let's move on to the Steelers. Uh, Mike, Mike Tomlin's he's a hell of a football coach. I don't know how he has kept this together because I look at the Steelers and I say, Jesus Christ, look at what they need over here. So kudos to Tomlin. I don't think he gets a lot of credit. I don't think he gets enough. So let's turn it over to you for the Steelers pick.
All right. Well, the heart and soul of the Steelers defense for several years now has been a Buckeye. Cam Hayward, and son of former Nolans great Craig Ironhead Hayward, and to replace a Buckeye, you need a Buckeye, and so I would go with Tyleik Williams out of the Ohio State University. 6'3", 334, just an absolute tank that he was the guy that most people overlooked when you looked at Ohio State's defense. You had people all over the place, and Tyleik Williams was the dude that really he, as they used to say about Reggie Jackson, he was the stir to mix the drink, and so I know that would be a little bit of a stretch that he's ranked in player ranks low 30s. But I'd go Tyleik Williams out of the Ohio State University.
Yeah, well, I think we're on the same wavelength here, definitely, because you got Derrick Henry. All right, you got Derrick Henry with the oh shoot, the Ravens. So But I'm gonna go with a different defensive tackle. I'm gonna go with a guy that can plug the run and also get to the quarterback here. I'm gonna go Walter Nolan, the D tackle from Ole Miss.
That's a great pick. Um, and you know what? Now that I look at this thing, Walter Nolan's probably a much safer pick. He is ranked way higher than most draft boards. Um, for an interior lineman, he's not huge. He's ranked 6'4", 296. And so he's more of your pass rushing interior guy as opposed to your take up the offensive line. Um, uh, like the pick. I really like that pick.
Okay, all right, cool. Uh, we move on to the Jim Harbaugh led Los Angeles Chargers. Know you're a big fan. So with the Chargers, I really, 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 really came close to picking Colton Loveland on this, but I think we're getting a little bit too attached to the Michigan Harbaugh Loveland thing. I think they have other. I'm going to stay with an offensive weapon for Herbert. I just think they need a little more on the outside, and this is where I take Matthew Golden. This
Okay.
gives you the ability to stretch the field and they need offense, and I think
They
this
do.
guy is just a burner. So, but what are your thoughts?
Well, Toledo's own Jim Harbaugh. Um, he's kind of an unorthodox human being, and so it's hard for me to really criticize my fellow Toledoan like that. But yeah, I do agree with you that they do need a little bit of offense here. And what's the best way to correct um, Michigan cheating and Michigan problems? A Buckeye. And so I think Emeka Abuka would be a really nice selection. Uh, he is not. Like I said, the wide receiver that they need someone that's got tons of speed, to stretch the field a little bit. Matthew Golden would be my top wide receiver pick, but he's off the board, and so my top remaining wide receiver is Emeka Abuka, and I would take Emeka right there and see if he could atone for some of Jim Harbaugh's wayward ways.
Well, Harbaugh's got J.K. Dobbins back there, so I don't think he's opposed to taking the
Sorry.
team from down south. Uh,
Well, I
so,
wish he had J.K. Dobbins of 5 years ago before he just
oh,
got so beat up in Baltimore. So
right, right.
sorry, I was having a little power problem, so I had to plug in.
Ah,
That's
good,
why I
all
wasn't
good.
looking. All right.
So we are on to the Green Bay Packers. Oop, you with me?
Yep, I got it.
Okay,
Let's see
technical
something.
difficulties, folks. Okay, we're on to the Green Bay Packers. Uh, so you're up. Go ahead.
Maybe I'm down. We'll see. All right. So what I'm thinking that the Packers need more so than anything is a kicker. And so FTP. And so I think that they definitely should take a kicker in the first round. Um, but they're probably not going to agree with me, even though FTP. Um, the Packers need a little bit of grit. That and so this is a little bit of a strange pick, but someone that's been moving up draft boards doesn't have the prototypical experience of a first round draft pick, but tough as nails. Um, I would go with Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State, and and you know see if they can get a better running game, see if they, a little bit better protection so our quarterback's not getting boo boos every week. And so, if he's coming from North Dakota, there's a very good chance that he likes cheese. And so I'm going to go with Gray Zabel, 6'6", 312, interior offensive lineman. Has a little bit of position diversity there. He could play center or guard, so I'm going Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State.
Well, also
FTP.
Was able. He also can play in the cold, obviously, so he would be a
Yes, he
great fit.
can.
And his colors were green and gold.
Yes.
So uh, I could definitely see that going here. I definitely could, and I think you're spot on about the about the grit that the Packers need. It's not like them, but they last year they were soft. They were definitely soft. So I could definitely see that. He's got so much versatility. I am going to go with their defensive backfield though because that needs some help too. And I'm going to go with what I think is the best safety on the board. I'm going to go Malachi Starks.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's not a bad pick. As soon as you said safety, I thought you were going a different direction, and that who I'm going to go with the Bears next. But not a bad pick there, man. Not a bad pick.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, we are on to another NFC Central team, the Minnesota Vikings. Uh, they've got some need in the defensive backfield, and this guy is slipping, and he's slipping kind of rapidly. I think when they had him up in the top 10, I don't know what people were thinking. I thought that was just cuckoo. But I think he is more around his value here in the lower round, in the end of the first round. And I'm going to go Will Johnson Jr., cornerback, University of Michigan.
Not. I like how you're going. I think he's got a lot of talent. Um, One of the problems though with the Bears is that
Vikings.
you
Vikings.
or you're right with the Vikings is that they could get gashed, and so what I was going to do is, and I'm going to butcher this, it was the Nick Amanawari out of South Carolina,
Hmm.
safety, 6'3", 220, big ass safety, can play in the box, can help you in the run game, and if you try to go over the middle, will kill you. And so I would also go defensive back, but I would go Iman Wari.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, Starks, if he falls, could go to the Vikings. I mean, I think you got the Packers and the Vikings definitely needing the same needs. So it could be a triple head, a three-headed monster, the way you want to pick it. If you want Johnson, Starks, and Maury, or if you want anyway. So love the guy. I think he is just a shade lesser talent than Starks, but hey, I could definitely. Or sorry, then Starks is a safety, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that thought here. So no, I could definitely see that. So we're up to 24 with the Houston Texans. So floor is yours.
All right, once again, see, I start pulling some different people around from different places. Um, and a wide receiver that I really like, and I think they really need to upgrade their wide receiver position uh, to get the greatest quarterback in the NFL, CJ Stroud, some more talent. I would go Jaden Higgins, wide receiver
Good.
out of Iowa
That's good.
State. That 6'4", 215, prototypical um, X receiver, good hands, not great speed, but just big on size, great hands, not slow. Um, played at Iowa State. I'd try to find that big receiver for C.J. Stroud and watch the Houston Texans do some damage.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because they lost Diggs and they also lost the one guy to the gruesome injury.
Yep.
Um, But they did a complete head scratcher trading Laramie Tunsil in the offseason. I still do not see that. I don't know why. Uh, so I'm going to give them because how are you going to get the ball out without CJ getting killed? And I am going to have them go here with Gray Zabel because he can play up and down that line. Any position you need him to play, he can play. And I think Houston definitely needs to upgrade that line now. And I think he's a good plug and play guy for them.
There are a lot of people that agree with you on that. I was just looking at the CBS board, and they have Gray Zabel going to them, and so you can't argue with it that they do need a better offensive line, and so no problem with that. I
Yeah.
I would I would just get another wide receiver.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I could definitely see that. So we're up to the Rams. Uh, Rams got a few needs. They really do.
Yes, they
Um,
do.
I could go corner here, but I don't see a corner there unless there would be a reach. You might get one, and I'll have him later in the first. I could see that, but I always think if you can't get the corners you need, you do it with a pass rush. Now this guy's got some red flags, no doubt about it. But
Oh, I
I'm going
know
to
where you're
go
going already with that.
yeah, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee.
I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, and I
No,
know that
no.
if he's on the board, the Lions ain't going to touch him. But he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the intangibles. For me personally, way too many red flags. That when there are many people questioning his effort, no, thank you, I don't need that. So I understand why you do it. Um, I wouldn't go there. I do agree that they might need an upgrade in the edge, and so I would do Donovan Ezaraku, the edge out of Boston
Oh,
College, and so I agree with you. I just can't do Pierce. Just can't do
no,
Pierce.
no. I mean, there's so many things you could do wrong in college. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the sexual assaults. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But
Yeah,
when a guy is deciding when he wants to go in and when he doesn't, well, this is college. When he gets to the pros and he gets a good, and let's say he's good, and he probably will be good. He'll be
yeah,
great, probably. But then he's going to say, well, my contract's coming up. I'm going to make a business decision. I can't play.
yeah.
And that is exactly something he would do, or at least something I would fear that he would do if I was a GM. So, you know, I can't pull the trigger on him anymore. I just can't. Um, but yeah, I like the pick there you had. So we will go on to the Ravens, and you're up.
Oh, what the Ravens. Ozzie Newsome. The great Cleveland Browns tight end. Then he became general manager of the Ravens. The guy just did everything right, and it always seems like the Ravens are in a great position. That they always have something that's going on. Um, I haven't taken him off my board yet, and so I would see Walter Nolan. Um, Defensive lineman out of Mississippi State, just a plug and play, and one of these guys that'll play in Baltimore for the next 15 years and be a Hall of Famer.
You see, this is why Baltimore and I've had discussions about Baltimore always gets a kick at the can every damn year because they draft so well and they don't draft for need.
Nope.
They do the Brad Holmes approach where you might need somebody, but you're not going to reach for somebody. You get football players. And if you
Ozzie,
have 53 good football players, those good football players always are in contention to win.
Ozzie
So that's,
Newsome's been Brad Holmes for the last 20 years.
yes,
They're
absolutely.
they're not always Super Bowl uh, champion teams or contending teams, but they're never bad.
Nope.
And so if they could just get a playoff reliable quarterback, then I think that the Ravens could do some damage.
Yeah, so I am gonna go here. I am gonna take the guy you took a little earlier. I am gonna go Nick Emenwari from South Carolina. Just an absolute Baltimore Raven kind of pick. Just a big bone crushing safety could come up, even play in the box. Even play at a linebacker in a pinch. But that has just got Baltimore Ravens written. This guy's got Baltimore Ravens written all over him, and I think they would be. I think he's probably. It depends if you like Starks or if you like him, but I think one of those two are going to be there for the Ravens.
I
And
agree
once
with
again,
you.
they do great with that, you know.
Yep.
So, all right. So we are on to the Detroit Lions. And the Lions, this is the way I see it. This is the way I rank their positional need. Okay. But again, I don't want them reaching. And they won't, well, you know what? They won't reach. I mean, Brad Holmes just won't do it. But I think this is where it lines up to what they need. Okay. Need and fit and the guy they want. And I think they take Donovan Izurika from Boston College. I pray that he's there. I pray that he's there, and he's got a very good shot at being there. I think with everything, this guy, obviously, we know 16 and a half sacks at Boston College. We know he's got a motor. You know, we know he plays with, he can dip the shoulder, I think he is. I think if he plays up to his ability the way that I think he can, I think he's just a shade down from Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe it may be two shades down, but that makes he still a pretty goddamn football player, pretty goddamn good edge. Man, you get that, and good luck. Good luck to every quarterback out there in the NFC North. Good luck, Caleb Williams. Okay, because you'll do your little dance 20 yards back and get sat on your ass. So I'm gonna go him, and I'm gonna be ecstatic if that happens.
Do you know what? I think that would be a great pick. One of my favorite draft prognosticators is Jeff Risdon at Lions Wire. I
That's
think he
what.
does a great job, and I listen to him, and his favorite pick to the Lions is the guy that I really hope is there, because I think he is such a perfect short term and long term pick, and that is someone that's already off your board. Donovan Jackson out of the Ohio State University, because right now you could put him in right now, and if you have him in Dirtbag playing the two guards, that you've got two good young guards, and then you have a really capable, great backup. You move what's his name out of Michigan, who played right guard last year.
Glasgow, Glasgow.
Yeah, Graham Glasgow. Then all of a sudden, Glasgow, you can have be your top backup in case Ragnow gets hurt, or Mahogany or Jackson gets hurt. So you're getting younger, and then during the playoffs this year, Jackson showed that dude went in at tackle and against Tennessee and Oregon and Texas and Notre Dame was dominant at right tackle. And so in a few years, when Decker retires, you've already got an experienced guy that you can bump out to tackle. And so I love Donovan Jackson to the Detroit Lions, and not just because he's an Ohio State player. I think he's the ideal fit right there.
No, you know what? Just looking down at, and we're not gonna be able to get to second round today.
No, no, we're
No,
not.
they're having too much fun. So, but I'm looking at the guards, and then I'm looking at the defensive ends, and I'm looking at least my second rounds here, and this is almost where there's a huge drop off. So I have, if maybe more of a drop off for that interior offensive line, and
Yeah,
Mahogany, you know what, he did great against the Bears, but it was one freaking game.
yeah.
Glasgow was his knee last year, plus he was absolutely fucking brutal. Asawaka, whatever the hell his name is. So I could definitely see Donovan, Donovan fitting in there. I like the pick. I'm not going to go as far as saying I would love the pick, but I'm saying I think what they're now, if we were talking about, I was talking about, I'd go edge, guard, corner, wide receiver. And if you
See,
don't go wide receiver, then go another edge.
And see, I would go interior offensive lineman, edge, safety, and that's how I would do it because there's some pretty good defensive ends that are going to come off the board in the second round, and so once again, I'm going to go a little homer here, but if you have, and I will butcher this name, JT Tuamalo, um, at pick
Right.
60, that's a freaking steal. And
Yeah.
so and he would be someone that would be a really good player for the Lions. And so that's what you know. And once again, Buckeye Homer, I know it. I'd love to go Buckeye, 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 and do Donovan Jackson first round, second round do JT2 Malo, and then third round go Lathan Ranson at safety. And so yeah, I know I've got people in maize and blue that are just churning their stomachs right now. And I don't always just pick Buckeyes because they went to Ohio State, but I think that all three of them are good players. They would be upgrades, and I would love to see that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you have top five, and this is defending what you're saying here, and you know what? Facts are facts. When the numbers don't lie. When you got a top five recruiting class for the last 10 years, and you win a national championship, and you win it handily, and I mean fucking handily.
Yeah.
I don't have a zero line. You know, if you wanted to go, if you wanted to go, if you wanted to go Donovan, if you wanted to go say Donovan, and then you go. The JT guy. I'm not even trying to pronounce it.
Tuamolo.
Yeah. Then you go. Then you either go Hancock or Sawyer. Where I mean, what I got zero issue with that.
Yeah.
I don't. You know, it's like Jesus, man. I don't give a shit what jersey they're wearing. I'll take a
So
goddamn. I love what's his nuts, Derek Barnes, and he's a fucking Perdone fuck. You know, so I don't give a shit, man. Give me good football players on my pro football team. I don't care. You
I
know.
love that you have the Indiana rocking the Indiana sweatshirt today.
Well, we might have a guy go in the second round if we're lucky, but that speaks to our head football coach.
Yeah.
So maybe not. I'd probably go third round if we're lucky. So we're up to the Washington Commanders, and to go some separate ways. This team scares the piss out of me. So go ahead.
Man, I'm gonna all right. So with the Commanders, they have a great young quarterback. They have some very solid receivers. Their defense could use some upgrades, but if I'm Washington, I stick on one side of the ball and say, okay, we're gonna make our offense as potent as we can, and so I'm gonna pick the third running back in the first round, and I am going Travion Henderson out of the Ohio State University to the Washington Commanders. He's no, um, I'm not even going to pretend he's no Ashton Genty, but he's a really good running back. He's got great hands out of the backfield. And so this would have it. I'm not looking long term if I'm Washington. I'm looking short term, and I think Travion Henderson would be a great selection for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, you got Eckler there, but he gets banged up. He's going to miss 4 games a year.
Yeah,
And then you got to understand if you wanted to go offense on that side, absolutely. I mean, Washington's got Dan Quinn as their head coach, and I thought Dan Quinn was the best coordinator when he's with the Cowboys. He's probably best defensive coordinator in the league. Maybe I'm overreaching here, but but I am going to go on the defensive side of the football, and here's why: they Jonathan Allen has moved on. So I think there is definitely a hole there in the middle, and I think they're going to go Kenneth Grant there. I think, like you said, Kenneth Grant, he's raw. His ceiling is so high, though.
yep.
And I mean, when you run like a 4.5, 4.6, and you can run 4.6, 4.7, and you can run down running backs from 30 yards away. Now, who is
He's
that
an
going to be
athletic
about?
freak.
Yeah. Who's
He's
going to
an
be 30 yards away sometimes? That's Jameer Gibbs. That's
yeah,
Saquon Barkley,
yeah.
you know? So I could definitely, I think Kenneth Grant is a pretty damn good fit there. I really do.
I I I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, can't go wrong there. I just want to stack one side of the ball and say, it kind of like what they did to the frickin' Lions. You know, they just outscored the Lions. That
Yeah,
that was what they did.
yeah.
So, all right. So we're moving on from the Commanders
To the
to the
Bills.
to the Bills.
Yep. I will. I think I'm up now. The Bills. I wanted to think about going offense here. I didn't because I just think sometimes, well, the Bills are going to have to outscore the Chiefs, and
Yep.
I mean, but I am going to go defense here. Think the Bills can go a lot of different ways, but you cannot have enough defensive back. This guy went to West Bloomfield. He ran a 4.29. University of Kentucky. I'm going to go. Uh,
Maxwell Harrison.
Maxwell, yeah, I always say it's Malik Maxwell
Oh,
Harrison there. I think it's a good fit, especially in that conference that they're in.
that's exactly who I was looking at. That this is one of the times that you and I are completely eye to eye. That he's an elite corner potentially. He's not huge, 5'11", 183, and so that's just a slight concern. But his ball skills are fabulous, and I guess I shouldn't say it that way. But he can play some football, and so you and I are dead on thought right there.
Yeah, and for his size, he doesn't mind sticking his nose in there either.
Nope.
So,
A lot of dog in that fight.
yep. So, believe this is you now with the Bills, or did you already pick?
Um,
You got the Bills. So,
well, with the Bills, I'm just saying I agree with you. I was taking Hairston all
oh,
the way.
Hairston. Okay.
All
All
right,
right. Well, let's.
moving on to the Chiefs,
Yep.
and I think that you've picked him, but I don't believe that I have. And so need to upgrade their offensive line. Um, they were really um, they were kind of weak there last year, and so I do not believe that I have picked Tyler Booker out of Bama. 6'5", 321, big man.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm doing if I'm the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's killer there. And I am going to take a page out of your book because they lost two linemen. They lost Thuney, and Thuney's a stud. All right. So I'm going to go with a damn good offensive tackle, damn good, especially at this point. He's still there. I'm going to go Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle from Oregon.
I've seen a lot of people pick him to the Lions, and I don't like him to the Lions because there's not a lot of flexibility. That he's a tackle, and so a good pick. You get value there, but I would just go a different route. And
Right.
so next to the fly, Eagles fly. Yeah. And so there's a lot of things you can do there. Do the Eagles get cute? And, you know, their quarterback's not young. Do
Oh,
they do they grab someone
oof.
that needs some seasoning and play the long game because they're pretty well off in most positions. They're one of the few teams that could grab someone on potential and let them sit for a few years. So do they pick Shador Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado? I think Dion would lose a nut because that's playing the long game, and that's what the
uh,
Eagles do.
Yeah, but I could just see when that circus comes to town, and it's coming to town there. And this is Philly, by the way. Remember Philly, okay? Those fans.
Those
And when
battery
Dion
suckers.
starts, yeah, and when Dion starts tweeting shit out, Oh, that is. I mean, dude, that would at least in my opinion, that would explode. It's of all towns, but maybe New York, but outside of that, Philly. If they did that, and who's to say they won't? I'm not saying that because I got Shadur Sanders going with a pick right after first pick of the second round, but we'll get to that second round, this week sometime. Interesting. I'm just saying that would be fun to watch. I mean, sit back and watch that fucking thing. But I am gonna go Dallas Goddard there. I know that they're talking about trying to trade him on Thursday. If not, I think he's a cap casualty. I still have him on my board. I think that Colston Loveland would be absolutely outstanding there. And
He would, but
oof.
he's not going to wait. He's not going to last that long.
Nah, I don't think so either. It's just the way my board fell. Um, but Eagles have a luxury of going anywhere. They probably could go back on that defensive line. They could go defensive end. They did lose Josh Sweat. So there's a million different ways.
Do you know who my backup is to Shador there? And
Yeah.
you're right, because I was thinking defensive line.
Yeah.
And this team has had a first or second round pick for the
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right.
last couple of years.
Right.
Darius Alexander out of Toledo, Toledo. Go Rockets, go! That Darius Alexander is a stud. He
Mm-hmm.
played with lower competition, but he's 6'4", 310. That is killer interior rush, great athleticism. And he's just one of those dudes that the Eagles just pick. That, it seems like someone's there and they select him, and it is just absolute killer.
No, I agree. And he did what he's supposed to do in a lesser conference. He couldn't ask for anything more. And yeah, I mean, that's a Philly pick if I've ever seen one. I got him going high. I hope Philly takes him because I got him going high in the second round to a team that we hate from Chi-Town. But I don't want to give away too much heading into our next one. So
Yeah, quick,
I know you got to run. I got to
Yep,
get
I do.
I got to get on Michigan Sports Media Network. So folks, for BT's Ballers, I'd like to thank Craig Prater. Definitely brings a lot of knowledge. Looking forward to do the second round for him. Craig, thanks for coming on with us today.
Oh, BT, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And so, like I said, we'll get together. I will see you tomorrow, and fight the team across the field and beat Purdue.
Beat Perdon't. So absolutely. So folks, for BT's Ballers, we out.